Confessions of an SEO. These are my experiences in SEO, both as an SEO and an SEO tester. If you don't know what that is, I do not regurgitate Google press releases, give you homework or trigger any FOMO for us any more than we have to. Primarily, I watch Google's feet, and I do this through testing. So even if we can't understand the entirety of the algorithm, we always learn something that informs our SEO practice in a positive way. So if you're an independent or agency SEO, I get you. Business owners or stakeholders who are trying to manage a team or deal with an agency. I was a local business owner for many, many years, and I understand your sense of questioning to understand better. Please stay receptive. And do understand that even if you're really, really smart, you're still not an SEO. Being smart doesn't replace the experience that your SEO team brings. So let us do our job, or at the very least, don't make our jobs any harder. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 4. It's still January, so I'm going to ask you one more time. If you don't have it set up to automatically change, have you checked your copyright dates on your sites? Now, I see it as changing the batteries on your smoke detectors once a year. And by the way, I know I'm a bit old school on this. I see that as a combination conversion and trust factor. If you can't keep your date updated on your own damn site, how can I trust you with my business? Okay, enough of that. Thank you to those who have sent in responses to the Confessions second annual survey. And I would like 6 more to make the math easier. Can you do that for me, please? I promise. This will be the last time I'm going to ask. Statistically, it takes 3 minutes or less to answer these questions. It's multiple choice. It really couldn't be any easier. Now, the link's in the description. Now, between now and February 1st, if you go to my website, AmericanWayMedia.com, use the chat feature. Either myself or Allison will send it to you personally. Whew. All right. Now, welcome to the least SEO podcast on the planet. Upon reflection, I realized that I started 2023 on a tear, and I want to thank each and every one of you for letting me scream into the SEO abyss in the land of stupid moves. Now, as a result of last week's episode, I wrote out, I will not be salty and grumpy 500 times, just like they made us do it in elementary school. Looking at the demographics of the show, I bet you guys never had to do that. This past week, I'm going to tell you a story of a test that I launched this week. It was a 10 megabyte page to see how much of the page the bot crawled. Now, this idea for the test came out of the Forensic SEO Training course, which started on the 19th. And it's going quite well. I'm really excited about the course, and especially next week's session. It's going to be 100% about server logs. Now, server logs, if you're not sure what they are, in layman's terms, these are like the guest book of your website. The company that hosts your files of your website provides them to you. Well, they make them available to you. You do have to log in and go find them. Now, I am as surprised as anybody that I am so darn fond of server logs the way that I am. The other day, I was thinking about the first time I even knew there was such a thing as these logs. Now, I'd heard about bots. I just didn't have the connecting dots that bot visits are recorded in server logs. It always appeared as graphs. So I was like, oh, wow, this is great. But getting it right down to the essence of, text in a log, in a text file that just goes on and on and on forever. Now, the first time I heard about them as logs was at an SEO Rockstars event, and technically quite recently, trying to remember, it was probably before COVID. And Tegabaitis was speaking and mentioned that when he first launched a new domain, he noticed in the server logs that the bots came in the morning and came in at night, and he wasn't sure why they came twice. So he says that, and I'm telling you, I am bursting to ask the question, what is a server log? And where can I find mine? But, trying not to totally geek out in front of a bunch of geeks, I'm looking around the room and I can see that there is no one in that room who looked like they knew what I was wanting to ask the question about. Like we all, I think, had this question, but there was nobody that was going to risk busting their cover as these, really big experienced SEOs by asking, a question that we should have all known. At least that's my interpretation. Now, the next time I hear about them, I'm working at an agency and there's some discussion about software to figure out where the bots were getting stuck or dead ends, or was it possible for really large sites? They were recommending that we load in server logs and perform the analysis that way. But we couldn't get the logs for some reason. Can't remember exactly, but it was like, that's going to be really hard. And honestly, I don't remember the details. I've slept a few times since then, but that kind of ended that long discussion. And then finally in 2021, at the tail end of COVID, I had some free time, to say the least, and I Googled where are server logs stored, and I found out in my own damn hosting. Talk about feeling like Dorothy in the ruby red slippers. She had them on her feet all the way along. Well, they were right underneath my nose. So I dove in and I have not looked back. They are so straightforward. It's like one of those few things in SEO that doesn't require a "it depends" answer to understand it. It's a record, a date, time, who, what, where they came from, and a signature. And while there were some bad actors crawling around, pretending to be things they aren't and doing things that they really shouldn't do, Google is not one of them. Google crawler agents are like Dudley Do-Right. You ask them not to index your page, they won't. But they will index the URL, just not the page. Okay, that does seem like semantics, but generally you request them not to do certain things or go certain places on your site. Most of the time they will respect your wishes and stay out of there. It's the calm in the SEO storm. It's also a way, just from a practical standpoint, to kind of keep your analytics honest. You could even find out how many visitors came to your page and check it against Google Analytics, which has had a documented real problem with loosiness or lossiness. That's how engineers talk about it they just missed some. And you can look at a log and it'll also show you if you have a Google Analytics for GA4 artist on the team. Those logs are a work of art. I got to thinking, like, why do I like him so much? And, grounding exercises are often employed in situations where, anxiety will rise up from time to time. And they've been used. I've used them for the purpose of, really kind of getting into the present moment, right? So if we're in the present moment, we're not at the same time thinking our thoughts about the future or the past, or what we think about our thoughts in the future or the past. I mean, it kind of like keeps multiplying. And I find that reading server logs is actually quite helpful to me for more than, just SEO. In the daily crawl or no crawl reports, and these are published on YouTube, and it's daily updates on the indexation research project. And bot activity is part of that. So I share what's happening with the desktop and the mobile crawlers. And since I've started counting them, I've recorded in, I guess we're now like 510 days. I forget, it's a long day. I've recorded 24 desktop versions, variations, and 24 mobile variations. And with the exception of 2 of them, they all have a variation of a Chrome build. The browser rules, if you want to call it that, they get updated. And usually it's with the Chrome builds, it's security updates. I'm trying to read through those things, but Lord, those are not server logs. So anyway, super nerdy, definitely geeky, and 100% dork. And I can't wait until next week's training. Well, remember to catch the crawl or no crawl reports. Thank you for being a listener. I hope you'll come back and bring a friend. And I do want to say special thank you to the supporters of Confessions that help support this work for themselves and others. I thank you very much. It's been my pleasure to be with you, and I'll see you in the SERPs.